All right, so the last thing on the agenda is KDE updates, and we call this the supplemental updates, and because it's just information that is worthy of mentioning, but it didn't necessitate a 15-minute or more session. So typically they're one slide or just a few slides. So we will go into that information. These are kind of the items we're going to cover. If you attended the user group trainings that were held last week with part of the regional trainings, I'm gonna give you some time back. I'm a little anal. People, that know me know that well. We've actually, they're normally alphabetical, but we pumped up all the other ones that were new at the beginning. So once we get through the first four slides, the rest of the information is the same as you heard at the user group meeting. So if you want to run on and do other things today, go right ahead. I just remind you about the ELA credit. Look for the information to come out for the survey. You'll need to respond to the survey before you'll get your ELA credit. So I'm going to transition. I better take control first into these slides, and this will be fairly quickly. These are quick items that we just provide quick updates on. The course codes for 2024-25, the information on the QA courses report. Do run that report after you set up your schedule, because that will give you some information on any missing invalid state course codes, advanced coursework. It's, that's maybe not set up correctly, or it looks like it could have some issues. Type of attendance gives you some good indicators if you might have a problem coming up in the next year. It's very easy to roll over the school schedule from one year to the next and not even realize you've got some old course codes out there that need to be cleaned up. So take advantage of some time to run this report on the new school year and make sure that information is correct for you. We do have some course checks for the school report card. There's a couple reports that will help you on that. The school report card this year will be a little delayed. We'll get into that timeline a little bit later, but if you run the information on these reports on the 23-24 school year, it will help you make sure that you've got all the courses reporting correctly, so that when we do open up the school report card and we start loading that data, the advanced courses and all the courses that are listed for the non-tested subjects for the school profile report are included and are going to be loaded correctly. Funding of online registration and campus learning. And this is something that all I can say is I'm sorry. I wish I could, had a definite answer for you. It is still likely that KDE will pay for online registration and hopefully campus learning too with ESSER extended funding. I can't commit to that because that through the federal funding, it has to be approved. And their timeline just doesn't necessarily align to your budget timeframe or my timeline that I'd like to have the answer. So we're still in a situation where we're having to say, we hope we have the money to pay for this, but if the ESSER money for any reason does not become available, we do not have the funding available to continue to pay for this. I hope we can. The ability, we pay a whole lot less at the state level getting it for a statewide purchase than districts individually would have to purchase it for. So there's some cost savings associated with it we like to leverage as part of online registration and campus. But we will share that information as soon as we get that information. But right now the ESSER funding is set to expire September 30th, and that would not take us through the whole 24-25 school year. We do have some changes that are just popped up on our radar recently. For the May 8th release, you're going to see some changes to the login screen, and we wanted to kind of give you a visual that kind of showed this because I know there's a lot of spoofs out there and spam and different things like that. We didn't want people to be surprised when they see the different screen look, but you can see some changes here with the colors. I think it's more accessible. The options here are available a little differently, so be looking for those and expecting those. We will upload that, or not upload that, we will take that release May 8th, so you will see it on Thursday, May 9th. So you may want to let your folks know to, hey, your login screen is going to look a little differently, but it's still the same information. Information on what version you're on is at the bottom of it instead of at the top. I got a question recently about where's the version. So that's going to be a little bit of a change too. So Social Security number tool, we don't have this yet, but it's one of those things that we are working on. We feel like we've got a lot of Social Security numbers out at Infinite Campus for a lot of years that we no longer need. There's other data probably we don't need either, but we're starting with Social Security numbers, and we're thinking that we need to provide a tool where districts can remove that information from Infinite Campus. KDE cannot go in and just say, oh, we don't think you need this information, and take it out of your system. There's decisions you will have to make. Does it apply to all students that are outside of school age? Is it, what about, students that are now teachers or now staff? Or what about students that really are too young for KIA reporting? The only requirement for Social Security number reporting that from a state level is the KIA requirement for collecting Social Security numbers for high schools. It's a nice to have. Many of you all have systems that you all are matching students with, and you may be using it for other purposes for that kind of matching, and it's a nice to have item. It's not necessarily a have to have item if you look at other attributes to be able to match to, but it is something that a lot of the systems that we have in place today, Social Security number, wasn't as sensitive as it is now. And, we didn't think about the cybersecurity and the attempts against education to breach data so that they have access to these students' personally identifiable information well before they actually have credit reports and things like that. So there is a desire to reduce the number of Social Security numbers available in our systems. More information will be coming out to you as we get this information. This is something that you will make the decisions on, so just be prepared to have those conversations locally on which options you want to choose. And it appears at this point there'll be a tool that you would actually do to actually eliminate the Social Security numbers in the system. It wouldn't be Infinite Campus doing it. It would be each school or each district would handle that themselves. So we also have some calendar information. This has been mentioned earlier today. The 24-25 original calendars can be submitted after April 30th. That date did get delayed a little bit. The amended calendars can be submitted to KDE on or after May 15th. It has to be after the last day of the school year, so keep that in mind. Any information, now's a good time to be checking quality, make sure the data looks good before you have your submission windows open. For summer school, we do ask that if you're offering a summer school, you want to create a separate calendar to track summer school, and that you should start the name of the calendar with SUM. That is just helpful as we pull data to try to make sure that we're understanding what's in your system correctly. We get a lot of requests for data that we are able to help populate because you all are good stewards and you follow data standards and all that kind of stuff. That if you weren't, and we weren't able to leverage that data, all those requests would come down to you all and your level to be able to provide that data. So we think what we're doing is very helpful. So, but it is also helpful that if we can, even though we don't have an official requirement on this, if you can follow the standard here, it will help with reporting. Other the variable instruction calendars. This is if you're using a variable instruction calendar this year, keep in mind the dates. The first day of students must be on or after August the 26th. The calendar must have a minimum of 1,062 hours. There is no minimum day requirement, and the teacher contract days are equivalent to 170 for contract purposes. And then classified staff contract days hours must still be met. So keep that in mind. I know I was out last week doing some training in Western Kentucky, and those school districts that are taking advantage of this is good information to make sure that they're aware of, and make sure their calendars are set up accordingly. Data privacy reminders. This is always a go-to for us. We're always trying to promote data privacy. Just take a look over the summer. Now is not a bad time. See if your annual notices are posted on your website. If they're not posted on your district website, consider adding them. Make sure that folks in the district are informed on what is directory information, what qualifies under the officials exception. At the KDE level, we don't track that. We don't use those exceptions. Those are definitely school exceptions. And so make sure that you are aware before any data releases of what applicable FERPA exception it applies to, and those are two that are very widely used, but have to be disclosed at the beginning of every year. So if you've not revisited that for a while, or if you want to look at it, this is a good time to start looking at that to be prepared for the 24-25 school year. We also have some training resources that are available. These are federal resources. They're ones that we use at the state level too. The data ethics course, the FERPA 101, 201, this is all good information. The Protection for Pupil Rights Amendment. As we have new folks that are working with data, we make sure they've taken these training courses early on in there. It sets a really good foundation for what they're going to do and to make sure they know about good practices. There's also a report that's available, and it's always a good time, the end of the year, the beginning of the year, to take your active user account access report. Look at that to see if the people that have access to the system still need the levels of access that they have. They may have changed jobs. They may no longer be with the school or the district. So, those are things to revisit to make sure that it's not only do they need access, but do they need access to all the different areas that they currently have granted access. Remember, under FERPA, there is a need to know. Do they need to know this information? And if the question can't be answered yes, you need to relook at what user rights they have they have available in the system. Jesse mentioned this earlier, the District and School Collection Repository, DASR. That is something that Rodney Bennett works with. And this is the time of year that we ask that districts take a look at their data to make sure that the schools that are in the system for the upcoming school year, for this year, are correct. And also as they go into the new school year, that any new schools or any changes in grade spans or anything like that has been updated in the DASR system, so the information will be correct for that reporting. What we use this data this year for information for school report card reporting and other reporting. We have the 24-25 year. As soon as school starts, we start running membership reports and things like that to make sure that you get the directory information available for our federal reporting. So this is time now to go ahead and do your annual verification. So if you can take a look at that, you can always check to see if your contact information is right and your schools are correct using the open house site. That's a site that we do keep updated and has that information in it. There is an end of year checklist. If you're just thinking, have I remembered everything, or I'm brand new, what do I need to do at the end of the year? This checklist is created to help you, just to try to make sure that you're keeping in mind what all needs to be done at the end of the year. There is a beginning of year 1, 2 that's being revisited right now. That'll be available soon. But do look for the end of year checklist and make sure that you're aware of all the different things that need to be done before the school year closes and summers. A few e-transcript reminders. Please share this information with your counselors. This is one of those things that now's the good time. We talked about some of the courses reports and the quality control reports for courses. That's something that you can use to verify the difficulty level and the diploma type, at least the difficulty level, to make sure that's coming out right on these courses. The PESC mapping is updated. It has to be updated every year, so take a look and make sure that's corrected. We want to make sure that all graduation data is posted before final transcripts. Colleges will not accept the transcripts unless there's a final grade and a graduation date both on them. They consider those preliminary transcripts, so if you submit them too early, you're just going to have to do it again. Transcripts are free for students through August of their graduating year, but it's really important to try to get that out to the students, the schools the students have chosen, as quickly as possible to help with their transition to post-secondary school, making that as streamlined as possible for them. There's an e-transcript batch process within the campus that needs to be used. Think about over the summer that, how are you going to manage requests for transcripts? There's ways to, once everything's posted, there's ways within the Parchment system to set it so that it automatically sends the transcript. You don't have to go in and approve anything during the summer. So think about whether that makes sense at your schools, and just to ensure that students are getting what they need and they're not impacted by days out of the office for staff. There is some recording training information on our e-transcript webpage. And there's also a data standard transcript that's helpful if you have questions further. We have health data checklists. All of our students' health data should be entered before the last day of school. That includes student health conditions, screenings, immunization certificates. So please make sure all that recommended data entry is entered into the system. It's very helpful to get that entered before a lot of the staff leave for the summer, because the more you can do to verify that beforehand, the less likely you're going to be stuck with it after everybody's gone but you. So keep that in mind. There are some other home hospital reminders. They have to be on home hospital more than 5 days. And remember, that's more than 5 days to qualify for home hospital funding. So check to make sure your dates are correct. Districts may use the date the doctor enters for the home hospital instruction to start. That might be different than the sign-off date. Ensure the student has home hospital attendance group, and then any absences should be reflected in the attendance tab if a home hospital student does not meet with his or her teacher for the required 2 1-hour visits per 5 days. So there is a home hospital validation report. It has some detail and some error reports. So whoever has responsibility for that, make sure that they're aware of that within your district so that they can be validating that data now. We do have new reports, and we continue to place those out. We used to see us include the information kind of path of where you would find those. That's not necessarily the way the new look works. So our KDE does create custom placements for the KDE reports. These are going to be available under reporting and KDE reports, or via the tool search for the report name. And I think if you get used to using the tool search, you'll really like that function within the new look. To reactivate the generate report button in the new look, select the context in the top right corner and then select saved. And that way we'll refresh that information for you. KDE state reporting submission. The information stays updated. We update this every year and throughout the year. So if you have any questions, this report is a great report to just kind of know, okay, we've got this reporting coming up. We might not be sending this reporting, but to know that KDE is pulling that reporting helps you to know what to make sure is, that you verified the quality of that data before those actual data pulls. Again, Kentucky is very, we're very fortunate to have a system where we can actually pull the data. When I talk to other states and districts in other states, the burden that they have to be able to provide all this reporting to the state before to meet these federal requirements is completely different than the way it works in Kentucky. And I think all of us have a hard time understanding how good we have it, just because this is all we know. But being able to make sure the data is of good quality is very important. So we do ask for your help to make sure you've reviewed your data prior to these reporting timeframes. Release and maintenance schedule. If you have questions about the release schedule, this is posted online. It does pretty much stick with the second Wednesday of every month. We do a release, except for like when school starts, we try to make some variations during the summer. So this is something that's easy to pull this down. We do send out emails as reminders, but this also can give you an opportunity to take a look at this early in the process. School report card, we do have a new contract. Our new vendor for 2024 is Anlar. The release of the finance data next month will be the last Google school report card release. We are continuing to work towards a 24 card, but it will be delayed this year. It will be at least 45 days later for every cycle. So that's why, Wendy mentioned earlier that the Safe Schools process was going to be different this year. It might not go through the school report card process. With any first year of a new system, there's always things that, pop up that you don't expect. So we're trying to make the best plans we can with very limited information at this point. We do know that the data that's going to be in the school report card is going to be the same. So take a look at the quality assurance worksheet, divide that out, see who's the best person to look at the different data while the school is still in session before the end of the school year and people leave. Start looking at the data in the quality assurance worksheet. That's just going to help you be better prepared. If school report card goes out the way it's expected to, and it's 45 days later, we're going to be asking you all to look at data right after school starts. And obviously that's not a great time for anybody. but it is going to be what we're going to have to do. We have federal requirements as a state to have a school report card published by the end of the year. Our thought right now, it'll be sooner than that, but not a whole lot sooner than that. And our current school report card, as we know it, will sunset in December of 2024. The work-based learning data entry resources, there is some information on work-based learning. They've made some changes to how the data needs to be entered. Please, if you've got folks that are working on that, have them look at this new data standard. It's been refreshed. There are some frequently asked questions and some career readiness information in the Infinite Campus articles.